Hey, everybody. Well, welcome to our show. This is Spiritual Street Talk with Alethea Jacob, and I'm Alethea, and I am delighted that you are joining me for tonight's show. So thanks so much. Hey, Maria Amethyst. Oh, what a cool name. Hello, Maria. Hi, Roger. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much again for joining me tonight. So today is my birthday. And so I can't think of a better way to spend my birthday than doing what I love, which is sharing with y'all and answering questions and just kind of doing my thing with you. So thank you so much for being here. I also have to apologize for what I call massage hair because my birthday gift to myself was getting a nice massage today. And that's something that I always recommend people do, is to treat yourself on your birthday to something special. And I have somebody right away asking, can you ask a question? Sure. If anybody is on the chat and you have a question, just type it in caps so it stands out, and I will address it as soon as possible. One of the things I wanted to talk about today is one of the things I'm talking about today is solar return, because that is what birthdays are. And, you know, each year, one of the things that happens as we approach our birthday, it's almost like things start churning in our life and getting more and more stirred up as we come. And they call it the solar return because it literally, from the day you were born, 1 year later, the sun returns to that same position, or the earth relative to that position. So they say that's why it's your birthday. And the other thing that happens is that we start thinking about, are we on track with our life? Are we, hey, Joey, thanks for joining us. Are we focused on our soul purpose? Are we accomplishing things, or are we just kind of spinning our wheels and not really getting much momentum or traction? Or are we kicking butt, and are we progressing, and are we going check, check, check? I'm getting stuff done. I'm moving in the direction that I want to move in. I'm becoming more and more of the self I know I'm becoming and want to manifest in the world. And, have that sense of satisfaction and progress. One of the things that I I'm also thinking about when it comes to birthdays is legacy and impact, right? Especially as the number of your birthday gets higher and higher. All of a sudden you start thinking like, oh, I don't know how much time I have left. And have I accomplished what I want to in this life? Have I made a difference? Have I positively impacted and touched the lives of other people, so that I feel like, yep, you know what? If God took me home tonight, I would say, all right, job well done. I'm through. I feel okay with it. Or would I have a bunch of regrets and say, I had opportunities, but maybe I should have, focused more on it. Or, geez, I got distracted. Or, oh, I don't know why it took me so much time. Or, wow, I kicked butt. I conquered. I saw, and I started a new project afterwards because I still had time left. Right. So those are all ways to go at it. And then the other thing is, there's certain birthdays that, depending on your culture, we celebrate in different ways, right? So Sweet 16 or a quinceañera, for I think quinceañera, that's 15-year-old, right? Those are big parties, that are the milestones of children embracing more of their adulthood. Right. And then there's 18, which is when the legal age for driving, for voting, for joining the military, for some states for drinking, age 21, for definitely like everything goes once you're 21 or older. And then, when you get into your 30s, it's like, oh, wow, there's a whole different level of like, that's now you're getting into middle age between like 30 and 50. And then from 50 and on, then you're starting to approach the AARP years. And then, above 70, you're definitely a senior citizen. Right. So there's different milestones, to celebrate. And it's also a good opportunity to celebrate yourself and to allow other people to make a fuss over you. Right. Because very often in life, everybody's kind of busy doing their own thing. But on somebody's birthday, we usually take the time to stop and reflect, to wish them a happy birthday, maybe, take them out to lunch or dinner or have a party if it's one of the bigger ones. But it's a time just to show a little appreciation to people and say, hey, you know what? I'm glad you made it another year. I'm glad you're in my life. I'm glad you're part of my family, my circle of friends, my colleagues, my associates, right? So that's all part of it as well. So on this birthday for me, it was definitely a time of some reflection. It was a time of looking forward to a kick butt year coming up and having some good momentum and even building more and more legacy and impact going forward. I did see some caps here. Let me go back and grab that. Let's see. What's the question here? I'm wondering what grade you see me getting at my bachelor degree assignment. A, B, C, D, or fail? Well, I tell you what, I don't typically do like fortune telling kinds of things, but I will tell you that my first instinct was a B, that it's, better than most. Maybe not as good as you could have, but it feels like it's on in that way. But again, don't hold me to that. That's not the specialty of my readings. My readings are more life coaching, tuning into the energy around you, tuning into spirit, kind of understanding, trying to get some guidance, direction, and insight into what's been going on in your life, much more than fortune telling. Because clearly, if I could tell the future that way, I would know the lotto numbers, and I probably wouldn't be doing my show from my house in Wisconsin. I'd be on some island in Fiji somewhere with some really gorgeous person serving me an umbrella drink and enjoying listening to the waves and the sunset there. So that's for that part anyway. So hopefully, you can give us some feedback next week once you get your grades, Maria. But I'm feeling it. I'm feeling like it was good, not great. So that's where I kind of leaned towards the B. But again, don't hold that as gospel or anything there, because again, that's not my forte. Hey, Roger, thanks for joining us. Hey, Michelle. Okay, we got a bunch of people. I'm just catching up here in case. Okay. Oh, and Roger, okay, that's interesting. So I was talking about the military and drinking and all, and Roger says that unless they changed it, when anyone turns 18 and joins the military, they can drink alcohol as long as it's on the military base. Well, hey, one more perk of joining our armed forces, huh? That's fun. Okay, so I have a very serious question here, and I'm very happy to tune into this for you. So Joanne is asking, does my daughter know I had no choice but to take her off life support, and does she forgive me? Yes, and yes. And actually what I'm hearing pretty strongly, Joanne, is that she is saying there's nothing to forgive. You acted from love. You did what was necessary, and you freed her from the body that her spirit was trapped in. And it was an act of mercy and grace and love. And she was there witnessing it. And as soon as her physical body ceased, she was able to cross over to the light. And she's telling me that there was an older woman who helped to escort her over to the light. And it was actually very peaceful and graceful and loving. And she's like, please, she does not hold anything against you. In fact, she has gratitude because you freed her spirit from that body that she was trapped in the current state. And there was nothing to forgive at all. She felt the love. She felt the grace. So don't beat yourself up for something that was certainly something that you do from love. And of course, it's something to grieve. And anytime there's a loss, and when we have to make that decision, whether it's for a loved one, a child, a loved one, a parent, whoever we are guardian of that person, and even for pets. I counseled a lot of people, and I've had to do it myself many times, in putting down a beloved pet because they've reached the end of their life and they're suffering and they don't have a good quality of life. And it's one of the most heartbreaking things to have to do, but it's also one of the most loving things that we can do. Probably the hardest, but the most loving, because we're like, okay, I'm not going to be selfish and keep you around when I know you're suffering, when I know that, it is something, there's no hope for it getting better, right? And I think that's the same thing for some people. And we're not a culture that's really well versed in dealing with death. I mean, there's other cultures around that like their elders will, like, when it's their time, somehow they know how to will their body to die and their spirit leaves, right? And there's some cultures where assisted suicide, when you get to a certain point where there is no quality of life and you're suffering and it's your choice, you're able to end your own life. I know how hard it can be to pull that plug, especially when you think, well, geez, are there medical advances right around the corner? Or there something like, will I regret this, and feel like, why didn't I just wait a little longer? But normally you'll get that prompting of spirit. You'll know it'll be between your guides and angels, their guides and angels, and they will let you know that hey, now's the time. And there's no reason to go on. And Joanne just shared with us that she works in the health field and it's about saving life, right? Well, doctors, nurses, anybody who's in the health field, healers, they take that oath, do no harm. And the question here is, were you harming them? No, you weren't harming them. You were freeing them. You were helping to save that person from that pain, from that limbo, from that state of feeling trapped in their body to now their spirit is free. So there's different ways to look at it, right? We're not murdering somebody who's healthy, who has a great quality of life, who wants to live and is able to function. You are helping somebody who was truly suffering, and in a way that there was no way back to normal. There was no way back to any kind of health. And so it's a very different dynamic. And the fact that it does weigh on your heart actually lets you know that it wasn't frivolous. The fact that this was something you truly had to pray about and think about and want to just have that sense of, did I do the right thing? That hopefully should even disprove to you that, yeah, it wasn't a carefree, oh yeah, let's just pull the plug. No, it was something that you had to really struggle with, to know it was the right thing and to know it was the right time. And her spirit let you know that, and is again filled with just love and gratitude. And it was graceful and peaceful, and it was what was needed in the moment. And so there's a gratitude for, thank you for doing the hard thing that was needed in that moment. All right. What I want to do now, just kind of shift gears a little bit, is I want to share first tonight a reading that I cracked open to in the book. This is for those of you that don't know. You're very welcome. The Portal to Potential is a book that I wrote. It's channeled writings. It's uplifting passages. It's questions to ponder. And it's some thoughts to think about to help make sure that we're all on the right track. Are we becoming the best possible version of ourselves? What do we need to do to fulfill the measure of our creation? What thoughts should we be having and actions taking to make sure that we will be fulfilling the purpose our soul wanted and came down to accomplish? So what I like to do is always crack it open like a fortune cookie. And tonight, the one that I open to is something called, a writing called Impact. So I want to share that with you now. And Nilda, I see your question. I'll get to that as soon as I finish sharing a couple things here. So just hang tight, okay? All right, so impact. Water seeks its own level, like your soul searches for reunion with the one of its being. Water can be peaceful and calm, life-giving, sustaining, and refreshing. Yet water can also be raging and damaging to the environment, causing harm along the way. You too are like water and can impact your world in benevolent or malevolent ways, depending on what you choose. If you choose nothing consciously, then like a stagnant pool of water, your purpose lies unfulfilled. Unlike water, you have the choice and ability to affect the world around you, and thus fulfill the measure of your creation. Be what and who you were born to be. Do what your soul longs to express. By this being and doing, you will find the peace and love the celestial world sings. As the beacon to guide your soul home, so you may join in the collective song of the cosmos, unfolding and expanding the universe into being. I chose some angel cards today and oracle cards to get messages from Spirit for us as a group. And when you hear these messages, grab onto the bits and pieces that really resonate with you and give you some direction, some guidance, some insight, or answers to questions. So the first card I chose today is creativity. And this is from the Oracle Mandala deck. And it says, open and unleash your genius by using logic, intuition, and imagination. Apply creative insight to work and your home to solve problems. Let your imagination blossom. So creativity here, this is a good reminder that creativity is like our intuition, and it relies on our intellect, as well as our feelings and emotions, as well as our gut intuitive knowings, right? It's all of those three things that help us really embrace our creativity. The next card I chose was the angel card of honesty. And honesty says, angel wisdom reminds us that your every thought, word, emotion, and action is reflected in your aura. When you are honest, your aura is crystal clear. Everyone knows where they are with you and they feel safe. Angels suggest that you look within and purify any murky thoughts or feelings, because when you are totally honest with yourself, you behave with greater integrity, you dare to be open, and there is nothing to hide. People respect and trust you even more. As you radiate a resonance of honesty, people respond to you with openness and honesty in their turn. Be honest in your thoughts, words, and deeds. Honesty is a really interesting concept, because some people will say, well, my truth is my truth versus an universal truth, right? Or honesty can sometimes be, well, I say the little white lie to save their feelings. So like if my husband got a haircut and it looks hideous and he says, well, what do you think? And I say, oh, it's great, honey. Am I really being honest? Yeah. But if I say, oh, it's hideous, well, that's not kind, right? So you have to kind of balance and say, well, do you like it? You evade the question or the issue. But there's being honest with yourself is probably the most important thing, because if we're being honest with ourselves, we will make decisions that are much more accurate. We will be kinder. We'll kind of know what's going on. If you deceive yourself, that's when you set yourself up for failure and falling and having negative impact in the world instead of positive. And then the last of the angel cards I chose is opportunity to forgive. And it says, this opportunity brings you the opportunity to heal, to grow, and release negative patterns. Hold the intention of seeing the other person's inner divine light and goodness. We will help you release unforgiving thoughts, feelings, and energies, and lift you to a higher place of peace and compassion. So that's interesting that card came up, because one of the things that occurred to me today, as I shared earlier, it's my birthday, I was missing the celebration that my ex-husband used to do for me when he was my husband, and I thought, wow, I kind of miss him. And I wonder if he even remembers it's my birthday today. Right. And I'm like, well, that's not really productive to think about that. Who cares if he's thinking about you? But that also told me that I still have something to heal there, that there's still a connection that I need to say, it's okay, that he fell in love with somebody else and moved on. Right. So that I have to give myself permission to heal and just let that go. And on a day like today, it was like, oh, wait, there's still more, right? And that's where that honesty card came in. I had to realize I thought I had been there, done that, healed all that, moved on. It's been 2 years since my divorce now. And I'm like, oh, wow, there's still a part of that that's in there somewhere that I have to address. So for those of you that have dealt with loss and grieving, whether it's the loss of a loved one through death or through divorce or through loss of a job or situation, it's something to really make sure that you're okay with, right? That you've done the healing, that you've done the forgiving, that you love yourself and forgive yourself unconditionally so that you can then love them and forgive them unconditionally. Okay, and the 3 tarot cards that I chose for today that give us a little insight into past, present, and future. The past is the Wheel of Fortune. With it being upside down, it says, unexpected things just come into our life. The good things and the bad, they're not expected, but they show up. And what's important is that we learn from the past and we learn how to be resilient, and we choose to go forward with kindness and love and be the best version of ourselves possible, regardless of what life throws at us. The current card, Temperance, says, do all things in moderation. All things in moderation will be both the things that we typically think of, like don't drink too much, don't smoke too much, don't do too many recreational drugs, right? Don't speed too fast, right, when you're driving. But it's also the flip side of don't work too hard. Don't work out too hard. Don't become obsessive compulsive and take something that's a good habit and turn it into something that's not serving you because you're overdoing it. So all things in moderation means all things, right? The good things, the bad things, everything in between. Try to do them in balance and moderation in your life. And then the future card here is the King of Swords. And it's upside down because it's asking us to really think about what is the legacy we want to create. What do we want to do out in the world? And how do we want to be out there? Okay, so those are the messages that I got for us as a group today. And I see that we've had a couple of questions come in. So, so the first one here is from Nilda. And Nilda asks for some insight on the energy that surrounds her. So I do feel, I'll call it a congested energy. It's not feeling very clear. It feels congested. And one of the nice things that we can do is we can always we can call out to those who guide us and love us from above for guidance, protection, and connection. And we can ask that the energies around us be of the highest vibration and light. So those 2 simple sentences can immediately shift the vibration and the energy in our aura and in our whole energetic field that's around us. So I would suggest, Nilda, that you say something to that effect and ask for the energies to be cleared around you, and that'll help and brighten it. Okay, and Maria is asking I'm wondering what you see will happen with me and Philip. Okay, so again, guys, I don't typically do fortune telling. What I can do, Maria, is I can tell you right now, I feel that the energy between you and with Philip, I do feel like there is an intensification. I feel like there's energy that's bringing you guys closer together through some challenges. So I feel like there's been a little bit of bumpiness, and through figuring that out, it's actually brought you closer. Where that will lead in the long run, you guys have free will and free choice, right? Whether you get so close that you decide you want to become a formal couple and become spouses or whatnot, that's totally up to you. And whether you say, hey, you know what, we got through this bump in the road, we got closer, but I feel like my project with you is done, and we choose to part as friends and go seek other partners for additional projects, right? That's where free will and free choice come in. So that's part of the reason I don't necessarily do it with the fortune telling aspect of readings, because I'll tune into your energy and I can see there was some bumpiness. You got through it together. It brought you closer. But where that leads from here, that's really up to you guys. I feel like you passed the test of whatever you needed to go through. And because of that, now you have more options. Does that make sense? If you can just give me a little feedback on the comment, or if you have a follow-on question per energy field. So that's cool. Thank you for that. I'm going to pop a little cough drop in here. Pardon me. Okay. Okay. So as far as love in your life, so what I'm seeing here for you. Mhm. Okay. Oh, sorry. So as far as love goes, I feel like you're open to it and that it's flowing to you. It's just, I feel like there's an impatience that it's not manifesting as quickly and in the manner that you like. But I feel like it's kind of like on the edges of your aura. If you don't already know the partner and the person, you will soon. So I feel like you're attracting and bringing it to you, and it's closer than ever. And so I feel like you're doing a good job at manifesting and creating what you want there. Okay, and we have a following question from Nilda. Will you be able to live on your own? Your energy feels very resourceful. And what I'm hearing from Spirit for you, Nilda, is don't sell yourself short or give yourself more credit. So it might be a bit of a stretch. And that's why you're kind of worried, like, geez, can I really do this? But I'm feeling like you're never going to be alone, first of all. So living on your own, you have the support of other people around you. You have a good network of friends and family, and you have a good, strong spiritual network around you. So give yourself that ability to kind of tune into that. And it might be less complicated than you think, and also give you an opportunity to simplify your life in ways that will bring you even more peace and joy in the long run. So will you be able to live on your own? If you choose to, the answer will be yes. I don't know if you necessarily have to, because I also feel like there's people energy around. So I do feel like that's your choice. But if will you be able to? Yes, I feel like you have the capability and the resourcefulness to live on your own. But things will be streamlined a little bit. It'll be simpler. And you'll be able to figure it out. That's kind of what I'm getting there. Okay, let's see. Let me see if there's any other questions I missed here real quick before I go on. Okay, so one of the other things I wanted to share was something funny that happened this week, and it kind of goes to how Spirit will sometimes set us up and use us to help others in ways that we might not be willing to serve if we knew it was coming. So I wound up getting a call from somebody asking for me to do a house party. And I hadn't done a house party in a while. And so what I usually do for house parties is I bring my tarot cards and my angel cards. And usually people will sit down I'll set up at the dining room table or a little table off to the side. And I'll either read, do some angel cards for them or tarot cards for them, or read their palm or read their aura. And once in a while, I'll get a message from Spirit if they have relatives that have popped in. But it's usually a very light and casual kind of atmosphere. It's a party. So, there's people eating and drinking and milling around. And it's just kind of a fun thing to do. And so a woman had called me. Actually, she texted me. I had read for her a year ago. I read for her dog who was about getting ready to pass over. And I gave her some information and guidance and messages from her puppy that was ready to go. And at the end of the call last year, I had said to her, oh, and by the way, I also do readings for people. And one of my favorite things to do is house parties. So if you ever want that, keep that in mind. So she texted me, hey, I have about 10 or 12 people. They want to get together for a house party. Can you come? And I'm like, okay, sure. So I show up there all ready to do all the, all these little mini readings that I'm thinking of. And next thing I know, all 12 of them are sitting in a big circle around the living room, and it's all friends and family, very close family members. And what they actually wanted was a spirit gallery or a spirit circle where I would tune into each person and see what guide or angel or loved one in spirit was hanging out that had a message for them. And so I was like, oh, you want mediumship? It's a different kind of party, but okay, let me quickly adjust, once I realized that's what they wanted. And it was a much more serious tone because since they were all listening in to everybody else's information and they were all family and related, they all knew each other and knew the loved ones in spirit that had come through. It was it was a really nice opportunity to get important messages as well as the fun, loving, playful messages, and also an opportunity for some good healing to happen for that family and that group of friends. So it turned out great at the end of it, but it made me laugh how spirit, even at this point in my life, and after doing readings for people for over 45 years, that spirit will still sometimes kind of catch me by surprise and be like, oh yeah, this was that. Oh, you thought it was this? No, it was something else. But fortunately, spirit's there to help, and I know how to do that other work as well. So, but the reason I'm sharing this is I want you all to think about in your life how sometimes you feel like spirit did a bait and switch on you. Like you took a job, or you started dating a certain person, or you said yes to a certain opportunity because you thought it was going to be one thing. And then once you got into it, you're like, oh, this is not what I thought it was going to be. This is really something else. But what that did is it helped you become resourceful, resilient, draw on different tools, different strengths, different abilities you have to make the most of that opportunity or that situation that you found yourself in. And so if you come across a time where you're like, what, what's going on here? This isn't what I thought it was. Kind of take a step back and ask yourself and ask spirit, okay, what's the best possible outcome I can have here? What tools do I need? What help from spirit can I bring down? What can I do so that this turns out to be an amazing, wonderful experience for me and everybody else involved, and not a oops, just because it's like here. And also realize how it might be a situation that spirit put you in to stretch you and to show you that, hey, this is the next step and direction where spirit wants you to be. And so my takeaway from what happened on the last weekend with this party was that, oh, I'm supposed to be doing more mediumship work, and to let people know that I do this work, that I do allow the Holy Spirit to part the veil so that loved ones in spirit can get messages across to their loved ones, and that I can see guides and I can see angels and I can communicate with benevolent interdimensional beings that show up, whether they're angels or aliens or loved ones who have passed, both human and animals, right? So for a lot of people, I hope for a lot of people, or I know for a lot of people, they're more and more open to this now. But there's still some people that it just freaks them the heck out to even think that that's possible, right? They're like, wow, that's like spooky. And I'm like, well, maybe think of it as spooky cool instead of just spooky. That isn't it wonderful that spirit and the way that the universe is created, that we have the ability to get information and messages from our loved ones that have passed. And that should also help us be less fearful about death and understand that it's just a transition back to a spirit world that we're familiar with. That's where we came from. So it shouldn't be such a scary thing. I think I shared this in a prior episode that when my mom was in a coma and getting ready to die, and we knew that her time was short, on the morning that she did die, I had a dream that my uncle Mike, who was one of my mom's favorite brother-in-laws, was at the Polish Community Center back in Yonkers, New York, where I was born and raised. And he was there reaching over the bar and pulling 2 bottles at a time and putting them on tables and setting up for a party, clearly. And he sees me and coming in the door in the far end, and he waves to me and he says, "Hey, honey, big homecoming today." And I woke, and the dream ended because I woke up to the phone ringing to the hospital telling me that my mom had passed. And it changed my perspective on what are we celebrating. And it really depends on your perspective. If you're in the spirit world and a soul says, "I'm leaving here in the spirit union that we have to go to the earth plane and have a body and have a life, and I'll be gone for 80 years or so, give or take a few," they're sad when we come into body and when we're born here. But they rejoice when we die on this side of the veil because we're coming home. We're coming back home. So it's a celebration. So it's kind of reversed. Here on earth, right here in the physical world, we celebrate when a baby's born, right? And we celebrate the birthdays to honor and remember, hey, you were born on this day. Yay, woohoo, you chose to come down and do whatever you're doing now. And we typically mourn and grieve and are sad when somebody dies and goes to the other side again. And sometimes we don't necessarily grieve it as much when it's somebody older who is suffering or somebody who is tremendously ill, who is in pain. And we look at their passing as a blessing and a grace and an opportunity for them to be free of the hardships of the physical world and be back in the world where they have that freedom of spirit. So it really made me think about that a little bit more, right? About perspective matters and what are we celebrating, and are we, what actually is going on, when we have that transition, and are we making the most out of it, and are we calling upon spirit to help improve the quality of our life here and now as we go forward. Hey, Amy, she's saying hi to everybody. Nice to do that. Oh, okay. And she's saying, here we go. Amy was sharing with her that she dreams about her mom all the time, mostly mundane interactions. That's cool. And, it's really nice when our loved ones come back and visit us in our dreams. And even the day-to-day stuff, it kind of lets us know, like, hey, it's normal. And I'm sure you know this already, Amy, but your mom is with you in spirit, right? So whether you're doing the dishes or dusting or vacuuming or balancing your checkbook, oh, she's laughing. Okay, so you don't like to balance your checkbook. Your mom is around you, right? Our loved ones are with us. In some ways, they get to experience vicariously through us, whatever we're doing. So when we're traveling and we're having exotic experiences, they're like, wow, they're getting to see that too. And they get to share the day-to-day stuff with us and remind us of, hey, you know what? I'm with you. I'm still here. Maybe you can't sense me in other ways, so I come through the dreams. But if she's coming to you in your dream, Amy, she's probably also around you, very physically proximate to you. So you can try to, stop for a minute and just feel her vibe, or ask like, hey, mom, are you close? And see what pops into your head. You can ask for signs, right? Sometimes our loved ones in spirit will do fun things, and all of a sudden there'll be a feather in a room that there's no bird. How did a feather wind up in the living room? And you're like, I don't know. Or where did that penny in the shower come from? Because I didn't have clothes on that would have dropped it out of a pocket, but there's a penny in the shower. Where did that come from? Right? So sometimes spirit will interact with us in those ways. Sometimes I go downstairs and I would absolutely share swear that when I went to bed, all of the cabinets were closed. And sometimes I'll come down in the morning and there's one that's open. And you're like, oh man, how is that even possible? You know? Okay. Yep. Yeah, it's good to talk to them aloud. You know, they hear us all the time. And yes, good not to do it when there's other people. And, you know, she knows how much you miss her. Because you're talking to her, you don't need a third party like me to broker that conversation. You may turn to mediums, and clients will turn to mediums all the time to help get more clarity on the messages from spirit, from their loved ones. But you can talk to her all the time. She hears you, she feels you, she knows you're there. One of the reasons that I'm feeling from your mom, Amy, that she doesn't come closer or manifest in stronger ways physically is because when you start to feel her energy come close, it makes you almost miss her more. When my mom first passed, when I would start to feel her energy, I would start crying. I'd be like, oh, Mom, I miss you so much, because I felt her energy. And later on, I learned that made her pull back because she didn't want to hurt me. So she would come in dreams. She would come with messages through other people. And she would kind of stay at the edges of my aura at more of a distance because she didn't want to upset me. But once I got to a point where I was like, oh, Mom, oh, I feel you. Oh, I miss you. But let me focus on the love and let me focus on how much I'm feeling the gratitude that I got to share in life as much as we did, and that you became my best friend, and we had these adventures, and that we had all these wonderful blessings. Let me focus on that. So now they're more joyful tears of gratitude instead of the sorrowful tears of missing that are painful. So as that shifts, for you, you'll actually be able to sense her coming to you more and more. Does that make sense? I hope. Excuse me. So, and that's not just for our moms. That's for a lot of our guides and angels, right? If our guides and angels and loved ones in spirit know that it's going to freak us out. Thank you, Amy. If they know that it's going to freak us out for them to come close, they're not going to reveal themselves to us in ways because it doesn't serve a purpose. I think I shared with y'all, I had a close encounter with a benevolent interdimensional being about a year ago. And I saw the portal of light open up. I felt the presence of a person, and I heard this voice communicating with me. And I asked the being, I'm like, okay, how come I can't see you? And the being communicated that because I trained myself to listen to the voice of spirit, and I could receive messages and communicate telepathically with them as well as with animals, that in order to serve the purpose of that moment, it would actually be counterproductive if I was physically able to see them, because my body would have a reaction. I would freak out on some level. There would be an adrenaline rush. There would be something that was like, oh my God, now I have to deal with like, like, who are you? And what do you deal with? And this is what you look like. And, it would be distracting to the job at hand, which was to have an exchange and communication of messages in that moment. So it made sense to me why that would not be useful or beneficial, and why they appeared to me auditorily versus visually. Because again, if all of a sudden it's there. And that's also why I understand from some angels that the angels in all their glory do not come and appear in that radiant light, because then it would impact us in a way that might not be useful, and we would not be open to the communication, the messages. We would just be so in awe of the moment of the radiance that we might be fearful, we might feel unworthy, we might shift into all kinds of negative states because of, oh my God, I'm in the presence of this. What is this, right? So a lot of times that's why the guardian angels will feel them, will sense them, but we won't see them, right? Okay, we have a comment here from Janlin. She says, there are very few times where I miss my son to tears. Today was the first time in over a year. Most of the time, it's just joy when I think of him and grateful he was here. Yeah, so that's wonderful, Jan, that's a way to approach and, feeling that. And there are going to be times, no matter how well we train ourselves and try to control our thoughts and emotions to stay with the positive, that we're going to miss people. I mean, I don't know whether it was an anniversary, a birthday, a holiday, a special occasion, or it could just be like you come across. I came across an item of my mom's the other day that's now mine, and I looked at it. I just started bawling. And it was just like, God, I so wish I didn't have this, that I wish had her instead, that this was still hers and not mine, right? And it was just normal. We're always going to miss the people that we love. When people we love and are really close to pass over, they leave a wound in our heart. They leave a hole, that they filled for so long, and their absence, we feel the absence. We literally feel an aching that's there. And we can fill that by remembering the joy and the gratitude and the positive memories and the funny things. And we can even let them poke fun of us from the other side of the veil. My brother, who was my only sibling, and he was 2 years younger than me, he died in 2006. And I was devastated because it was unexpected. And, there's times that, we miss him, but we were siblings. And there was times that we fought like cats and dogs, and other times we were closer than you can imagine. And I miss him terribly. And I laugh at times because I'll hear him in my head poking fun at me in a way he used to when he was still alive and on this side of the veil. And that's when I'm driving. Occasionally, I will hit a curb when I'm making a right-hand turn. I misjudge and I cut it a little close, and my right rear tire will kind of do a little bump up. And so I hear him in my head going, curb, when I hit the curb. And I start laughing because I know, like, okay, yep, he's just busting my chops from the other side of the veil. And that playful teasing way is something that helps me laugh instead of cry when I think about missing my brother. And so spirit will sometimes do that with us too, right? They'll find little ways to poke us and, pat us on the head and say, there, you're going to be just fine. Hang on. Or they'll send us the signs, the pennies, the feathers, the dimes, the cardinals, or birds or flowers that we just start seeing everywhere, or words that we just start seeing no matter where we look. It's on a billboard, it's on a sign, it's on our phone. Those kind of things happen. Yeah. And Amy said, yeah, that's it, right? When your family has a good sense of humor, or a dry, playful sense of humor, it is a blessing, because we can then come to laughter, and remember not only times they're with us, they're still with us. They're still with us non-physically. They're still sharing in those moments. So those gentle little pokes and whatnot is there. Okay. And okay, so Jan was clarifying a little something about her son there. Okay. Okay. So Yeah. So when you do have the loss of um, one son, and you have other family members left, of course there are going to be reminders, right? And there's going to be fears, and there's going to be things that pop up. He may have similar mannerisms or things. And by the way, his brother that passed is probably, coming to him in dreams and whispering in his ear and communicating with him non-physically in ways where he may be a conduit for messages for you, Jan, just through your younger son. And then he may be trying to give you some messages and help you, get things from that he's able to share, and things that occur to you will pop into your mind, be like, oh, okay. So what I would invite you to do is imagine the possibility that through your youngest son, your son that passed is going to be bringing you some messages at times. And whether your youngest son is aware of it or not, doesn't matter. You're going to get what you need to hear. And so just be open to that and do your best to keep that sense of love and gratitude as much as possible, because the more we can keep balanced with that love and gratitude, the closer we then allow spirit to come into our lives. It's almost like when we're filled with that grieving, mourning, the tears, the angst, the loneliness, spirit has to almost keep a distance, because they don't want to make it worse by coming closer. You feel them and then you miss them even more, right? So we have to get to a point of healing that allows us to be more open and receptive, so that they can come to us and heal us in bigger and better ways. Okay. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Okay. So one last thing kind of on that vein. This Sunday in the US is Father's Day. I don't know, for those of you from other countries, is it Father's Day for you guys too? Is that kind of like a universal thing that Hallmark made, and it's like in every country? Is it just a US thing? I don't know. But if from those of you in the UK or Australia that are on tonight, if you can put that in the chat, whether or not you celebrate Father's Day too, let me know. But for those in the US, I know for sure this Sunday is Father's Day. So guys, if you are not connected with your family, just honor yourself. If those of you that have your father in your life still, honor them. If there's a healing that's needed, take the time to reach out and heal. And for those of you whose fathers are on the other side of the veil, like mine is, honor them. Remember them with as much positivity as you can. A dad's role is pretty tough. There's a lot of roles that, well, both moms and dads play, right? But, fathers put a lot of pressure on themselves, right? They have to be the protector, the provider, the role model, right? There's a lot of things, and there's certain things that are expected between fathers and sons and fathers and daughters. And so it's pretty important, that we need to forgive them for the times that they were less than perfect in our eyes, where they weren't the, that they were more like Archie Bunker, from All in the Family, and not like Father Knows Best, right, from that old show. There's times where you look back and you just have to cut them some slack and give them the grace, because they, like we and all people, do the best we can with what we have, with the resources we have, with the skills and knowledge we have, with the experiences we have, and it's usually not until we become parents ourselves that we all of a sudden view our parents with different eyes. All of a sudden it's like, oh, I get it. Wow. I didn't realize how hard this was. Boy, they actually did pretty damn well, all things considered, and we're able to kind of look at things in hindsight in a way that can be filled with much more gratitude and love and appreciation for him. Yeah. So I think it's important for us to do our best, and for those of us that say, hey, it's a Hallmark holiday, I'm not going to celebrate, and giving into the capitalism and blah, blah, blah. You know what? It's important to show gratitude. And if you're doing that other days of the year and you're honoring your dad and you're making him feel like he's the best guy around and you recognize he did the best he can and you're grateful that he was your dad, okay, don't worry about Father's Day that way. But it's meant to be a reminder so that at least one day a year, just like Mother's Day last month was at least one day a year, we go out of our way to honor and show gratitude and give thanks and spoil our parents to whatever extent we can. Or if they're on the other side of the veil, we memorialize them, we think about them, we give gratitude to them, and we do our best to honor them with the life that we're living and being the best possible children and grown children that they could look and say, wow, I did a good job in raising that one, and I'm proud of them. So remember your dads this weekend, everybody. All right. Well, thanks so much for everybody for tuning in today. And thanks to y'all that were on the chat. This was great. I love the interaction. I look forward to more times. Please do all the good social media things, like, subscribe, share, all that. You know it better than I do. And thanks again for joining us. Homework as always, be as loving and kind as you can. Have the best and most positive impact in every opportunity you can, and just have a wonderful, blessed week. Thanks very much, everybody. Have a good one, and I will hopefully see y'all and talk to y'all again next Thursday. This is Alethea from Spiritual Street Talk with Alethea Jacob. Thank you again for joining us, and I hope y'all had a good time, and I look forward to future times together as well. All righty. So now I need to go over here and find the little thing that says goodbye. I'm still learning the ropes here, guys. So thanks for your patience with me. Okay. Again, God bless. Have a great week. Bye now.
Coming to a YouTube channel near you.